Welcome back to Jacobism, lovely people. Today we're going to talk about a topic which is a personal favourite of mine, business and finance. But importantly, we're going to talk about the foundational books that helped me learn how to make dem racks. We're going to look at economics and investment banking for dummies, the Millionaire Fastlane, and Ready, Fire, Aim. Of course, my knowledge is not limited to these books, but these books helped me create a great foundation of knowledge to which I could spring off and digest other information with greater ease and understanding. If you have some good suggestions, plug them in the comment section down below. Let's get into it. The first book, which had a profound effect on my understanding of business and finance, was Economics for Dummies. Yes, we went basic, but oh bitch, was it banging. You see, when I first went to university, I learnt about the finance industry. My university was filled with wannabe corporate fellatio practitioners who all wanted to go into the industry. I saw the salaries they were talking about and the prestigious companies like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, and I thought, that's going straight in my basket. My issue, though, is that I have to know something well in order to be able to talk about it confidently. With no formal education in economics, I knew I needed to start basic. Now, luckily, having been a stereotypical Jew my whole life, this book put concepts to my mental ramblings and unknowingly economical behaviour. It talked about behavioural economics, free markets and competition, profit maximising, and theories from the likes of Adam Smith and David Ricardo. I highly rate the Dummies books, and if you have no prior education in economics, I thoroughly recommend it. Now it's time for the second book, which helped me gain a wider knowledge of the landscape of finance, as well as an understanding of the perspectives of different parties. And that book was Investment Banking for Dummies. I read this book at the same time as the other one in the context of wanting to get a job in the finance industry. This book helps explain the relationship between the entrepreneur/business owner and lender/investor, whether that be pension funds, high net worth individuals, banks, whilst in an array of segments of the market. It helped me understand that a key purpose of investment banks is to raise finance through selling equity or debt, or finding the right investment depending on what side the client is on. Investment banks act as intermediaries in the deployment of capital between equity holders seeking investment and investors seeking a return. For me personally, this book helped me understand the differing motivations of participants and how to effectively think like an investor with the basics of returns, with things like the different pecking order of debt holders and stakeholders in the event of a company being liquidated. I cannot recommend it more if you wish to understand investing and the purpose and dynamics of banks, investors, and entrepreneurs. It's so good that I could talk the talk of varying technicals with my finance undergrad friend who said that I'd learnt as much as he did in his first year of tertiary education. Now it's time for the third book, which is a personal favourite of mine, The Millionaire Fastlane. Now, don't dismiss its seemingly cringy title because it's full of gems. The author, who created and sold a website, talks about how to get rich the right way. The first half of the book slates off why you should never get a job, the inherent risk with employment when it is purported to be secure, and everything contrarian finance. His mantra is that people's true intentions for wanting to be wealthy is freedom. You can run a business that does £10 million profit before tax every year, but if that requires you to work 365 days, then you are not rich. You must divorce your time from your earnings. He states that there are differing ways to achieve this, such as a rental model, whether that's a building or a lawnmower. However, that being said, you will need capital to acquire an asset in which you could rent. So you will have to grind it out and trade a bit of time for your money first. In order to demonstrate this, the author uses the story of two Egyptian brothers, Chuma and Azur, tasked each with building a pyramid and promised with great riches upon completion. Azur gets cracking lifting the heavy stones, and all the while, Chuma goes into his shed and starts playing around with inventions. 3 years pass, and Azur scoffs at his brother, who hasn't even started on the pyramid, all the while Azur has made 3 levels. One day, Chuma arrives with a huge device and begins to lift the stones one after another with such ease that Chuma matches what his brother has built thus far within 40 days. In vain, angered Azur decides he must get stronger. Within 5 years, Chuma builds his pyramid, retires with all the riches that he was promised. 40 years goes by, and stubborn Azur, having not completed his pyramid, dies of a heart attack. The moral of the story is, do not rely on your time and energy to do all the work, but create a system to build wealth. There are many golden tidbits in this book, and it is the contrarian finance Bible or Quran, whatever you're into. So much so, at the pub on Christmas Eve, I ordered a fellow contrarian friend a copy. Now, the last and fourth book we're going to look at is Ready, Fire, Aim. Now, this book looks at growing businesses at different stages, 0 to 1 million, 1 million to 10 million, 10 million to 50 million, and 50/100 million onwards. Now, obviously, if you're just starting out, growing a business beyond 50 million might not be so pertinent right now. However, it's always important to have the end in mind and do a bit of backtracking. This book is very good because beside the explanations of growing businesses at different stages, it stresses the importance of sales. It is everything. You can worry about this being right or that needing to be there, but 100% of the time that is total horseshit and you need to start selling. Even if, say, the product's faulty, take the money and use it to fix the product. You need money in your bank account. This book also talks about the optimum selling strategy. Every product or service has different strategies and arenas for selling. You aren't going to start cold calling to try and sell your double-ended strap-ons. So it is the chief task of a business owner starting out to figure out what is the optimum selling strategy for whatever their product or service is and start fucking selling. As for the title, Ready, Fire, Aim, you guessed it, stresses the importance of taking action and aiming once you've missed. People go into business thinking that this needs to be right or I just need to do one more thing, but they fail to acknowledge that the market is the ultimate determiner of whether their product or service is perfect and that they will almost certainly make corrections after going to market. I found this book thoroughly interesting, and if you're interested in learning about the defining principles of business, grab yourself a copy. And now it's time to end, lovely people. I hope that today's video has shown you that if you have a particular business or finance question, you know where to look to answer it. I would also like to add Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's very basic, and so perhaps give it a miss if you're a bit more advanced, but it talks of the importance of buying assets over liabilities, things that make you money versus things that cost you money. Lastly, a book that didn't get a mention but is quite highly rated, The Psychology of Money, is meant to be quite good, and if any of you have read it, please comment down below and I'll give it a read and review. Thank you all for watching. I wish you all the best on your journeys, and if you want bragging rights for being one of the OG subscribers, you know what to do.